welcome to the Node.js Next 10 meeting for April 1st, 2024. Time flies. Before we get started, any announcements people would like to share?
I guess we can say that the survey is online since last week. So if you're watching, please fill the survey.
Do you have the link handy for the survey? It might be good. We can just throw it in the minutes in case anybody's reading and says, hey, I should go do that.
1 second. Let me grab it from the release.
Thanks. Yeah, I think, and it sounds like we're already getting a bunch of responses, so that's great. We got quite a good response last year, and that's really important. So if anybody's listening or watching, please fill out the survey. It gives us some really good data to, use to think about in terms of the approaches or things we're planning, all that kind of stuff. Any other things that we should mention? Okay, if not, we'll move on to the issues tagged for the agenda. The first one was discussion initial text for the ambassador program. We've had some discussions. We had a deep dive and on advocacy, and one of the things that came out was, discussion of an ambassador program. So I went ahead and put together some text, and I thought we could discuss that today. So I'm going to share my screen. Here we go. Okay, I think that's the right one. So again, I haven't opened it as a PR. I want to get some review feedback from the Next 10 team before I do that. But in the end, I think this makes sense as a document within the contributing section in the Node core repo. So see, just in terms of the aims, I tried to document that we want to support and encourage our developer advocates to promote Node as a project and to help communicate key messages. And then I think from our discussions, we said we want to do this by setting up a set of messages, like this is what we'd like to promote. So for example, today, I know we want people have a better understanding of how the project works. It's mostly volunteer, and therefore that means certain things. So we could put that kind of thing into a list of messages, or we could say nobody seems to understand how X works. Let's work on content for that. And I guess that's similar. So messages and then topic content. We can say well, we think it's important that we have more content on diagnostics, for example, or for particular topics. And so we can kind of message to the developer advocates this is what, as a project, we think would be good. We want to help developer advocates promote content as opposed to people just going out and do it. We should help in whatever ways we can think of to help them promote the content that aligns with the messages and topics that we've defined. And then I can't remember if we discussed this, but I put it in, I think this is one where we could support requests from the Node.js Travel Fund, even if the ambassadors aren't otherwise active. So if we have people writing and generating content, one of the ways they can also help to communicate these messages is by going to conferences and stuff, and we should support that effort through the Travel Fund.
I think that overlaps with the Speakers Bureau initiative.
I think it's more like saying to support developer advocates, we might try and get them into we might advocate for them being in the OpenJS Speakers Bureau, for example. Or I guess what I'm trying to say is I don't think it's negatively overlaps. It's more this is one way that we would try and work through that, maybe even to. Now we could reword it to let's see, I'm going to go into editing.
Yeah, I wouldn't mention directly we support people directly with Travel Fund. I would say that we help ambassadors to find funds for the we encourage and try to facilitate like ambassadors to go speak at conferences in a way possible. That could also be get them connected with people who would like to sponsor the and the OpenJS Foundation, so that it's less. Oh yeah, we give money to people to ambassador. Is like more we help people to go to conferences or events to speak about them.
But what would that be? Like, I, I'm hoping we can do something concrete because like the general will do something. Like we don't, the challenge is we don't have a lot of cycles, right? So it's not like somebody's going to be like, hey, I'm going to go research ways to get them there. Whereas if we're asked, we could say, yeah, okay, that person is somebody who should be qualified for travel fund, right? Like
Yeah,
that's an easy thing, doesn't take any
the
effort.
wording you use makes more sense to me, and it's much more can be justified easier.
Okay, so this updated wording here, the
Yeah,
okay. So, basically advocating for them to be part of the OpenJS Speakers Bureau, which in theory should get them the same thing, right?
yeah.
Okay. Sounds good. I'm going to commit. Actually, let's just keep going through. I think we can read it this way. I can make other edits. Any other things that you two can think of? Like, are there any other concrete things we can do to support?
Uh, like it doesn't mention social media, but I think that's one of the key point of this program to have social media visibility. So we can say that we will be uh, like reposting their tweets, the content that they produce. Like
That is
yeah,
later. I have that later on, but like if we want to
okay,
have that up front, I could say like helping developer advocates promote content through social media and other channels. Maybe promote content that aligns through social media and other channels.
yeah.
Okay, that's good. Any other things that we would want to like in terms of support that we can provide?
Mm, I think like I don't think there is anything else that we can do other than providing funding and providing visibility.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. I specifically left out like listing the ambassadors because I think like at least to start, it would be good to like see if we get people who are like, you know, not just so that you're listed as an ambassador, but you get some of these other like support and we retweet your stuff. But having ambassador like a list that we have to add and remove people from might actually make it a little tougher to start up. So I left that out specifically.
Yeah.
Okay.
And one thought I have is like a bunch of this is about basically them creating content for us.
Mhm.
Would there be value to like us like not really giving them content, but like directing things at them that like this might be a thing that would be interesting for you to write content about?
I think that's what I was hoping like this up-to-date set of topics would be. Like this is like
Yeah.
we believe that, for the project's benefit, more content on like diagnostics or even more specific. Like it could be like specifically on the inspector or I don't know what, right? Like does that cover what you're thinking or something a little bit different? Or can I add some words that helps make that line?
Well, like that covers like more like that's more like general like permanent sort of type of content. I was thinking more like there's a thing coming up that like people are working on or something like this that like might not have visibility that like someone
Right.
might like if you think about like Theo is always like talking about like oh yeah like in this like next version of Node this is happening and like things like that like if we can get to like some sort of visibility channel for like what's coming up, what people are working on, the like
Right.
things that will be new and interesting.
to, like, I think, like, I don't know if we can find a volunteer to curate that for people, but we could provide a space for collaborators to say, like, please post here if you're working on something interesting and want to work with the
I
advocates.
think we can do that through release notes, probably. Like their job could be like one of the, not job, but one of the stuff that they have to do is to highlight the work that has been released, like to talk about the new release and talk about new features, highlight stuff that other collaborators have done. This also, I think, I mean, if the collaborator is okay to be showcased in like.
Right. So it basically, like, I think that might cover the already released. And I think, but Stephen might be thinking of stuff that's like still in progress, still working, or I don't know. What do you think, Stephen? Like,
yeah. My thought is like with latest node we have like the new like require ESM thing, and like stuff like that is like it would be cool to have people talking about it, like not like after it's already been released, but like even like leading up to it a bit. If there's like some big effort like this that's happening, get some people talking about it. Get like I don't really want to use the like word hype around it, but like hype
right.
essentially. But like that gets a little bit of attention for like other people can go and start looking at the issue and like commenting and like providing their own feedback and things like that. And like they can actually be helpful to have like community input on some of these things before they even land sometimes. And
Right.
like there's a lot of
Yeah.
cases where like things like no one even knew they existed until suddenly they did. And it's like if we can make those things a little more visible while they're in progress, I think that would be beneficial. Yeah, like specifically from like the diagnostic space, like we've done the like tweeting out and like writing surveys and stuff to try and like gather feedback from users, but like being able to present like, oh yeah, this is a thing we want to do, or we're thinking about this, or like these sorts of things, like having a channel to like talk to some sort of influencer and say like, can you please talk to your people about this thing we want people thinking about.
Okay, so we can reward it in saying that like we want them to showcase and gather feedback on early stage features that have not been like released yet and are being implemented, or uh, like like to see also if they would like them to be implemented in the first place.
I think I tried like providing a space for collaborators to share new features they are working on when they would be when they would be happy for the ambassadors to help share and get early feedback. Like that might just be an issue, right? Where a collaborator like yourself, Stephen, could say like, here's my thing. And then if the ambassador looks at that and says, hey, I'm interested, you could work together to help them promote that, right? And it's kind of like,
I
here's
mean,
another pre-approved content that we would like to do some posts on.
yeah, Ban does that very well on social media because they like try to gather early feedback on features that they have not implemented yet. They create hype over this kind of stuff. So we don't care about hype, but I mean feedback is generally
Yeah.
good. So this is something that we might want to do.
Yeah, that's a good, like these first two, I think you're right, are like they're going to be a little more static. Like, okay, for this quarter, this 6 months, here's some messages and topics we want to fill out. This one could be much more ad hoc, so any collaborator can show up and post it. Any other sort of ideas along that front where collaborators might want to feed things to ambassadors or highlight things to ambassadors, or We've set new features, but like, you know, is it limited to that, or are there other cases?
Well, like the particular example that I had in mind when
Yeah,
thinking of that was like in the diagnostics working group before, like we had we tried to gather feedback on basically async hooks is kind of bad, and we want to come up with better APIs.
yeah.
And so we tried to gather some community feedback, and we got like a few ideas, but like I feel like if we had like an influencer on our side to talk to the community and say ask about like what are like better like what are diagnostics tools you would like to see? What are like better uses for this type of data you would like to see? Like if we had someone with the pull to draw enough people to start talking about those things, I think that would be super valuable for like directing some of those things, because like we do have a certain amount of like project like parts of the project where like no one really knows where to go with it next. It's just sort of sat there, or
Yeah.
like it's stable but no one likes it, or things like that. It's just because there's a lack of feedback about like what even do we do with this.
Okay. Well, I think I added like this space where collaborators can share topics, features they're working on when they would like to get feedback, right? So like, for example, in that case, you could have posted it there and said like, hey, any ambassadors interested in, you know, helping to promote this, ask questions, whatever, right? That's good. Any other sort of high level? And I think we may think of new ones, so we don't need to cover it all to start, but like, this seems like at least a solid set of things that would be like, here's some info. Good. Now we have a place for collaborators to add in stuff sort of ad hoc. And then what we actually do is promote the, you know, help those developer advocates promote their content and help them, you know, get into say the speakers bureau or any other programs that may come along. We can always add. So okay, so in terms of nominations, I think I said like, okay, any member of the Node.js organization may nominate an ambassador. I think I kept this to just like organization members to not make it just like anybody. Just
Yes.
so that like we probably want advocates that at least somebody in the organization's pretty big. So like that shouldn't be too much of a restriction to find somebody in the org who's like, hey, I've seen this person's work and like seems reasonable. And then I just picked some random, I shouldn't say random, but like I don't have any good rationale for these numbers. I just thought like, you know, in the initial phase program, we'll have some maximum of ambassadors. Like, let's not propose a whole bunch of trusted people, but like 4 seemed like a reasonable number. We can see how it works, doesn't work. We can always change that. I also suggested we make the term for 1 year and that like every year you drop out and have to be renominated. So like it's not like you get in there's actually and just stay, right? Like we seem to have some problem with that in different groups. So this one wouldn't be more of like every year we pick a new set of ambassadors.
So the issue I see here is that like it's the first who arrives gets served first. So if I nominate like a bunch of people at the beginning and they fill the 4 seats, then someone who also might be even more like worthy is
Yeah.
excluded by the so I don't
Yeah.
know, maybe this might cause some issues.
Yeah, I was also like part of the reason I thought like we might want to limit is to have some pressure to like if we nominate somebody as ambassador, but it's not really working out. If
We
you have a
can
limited kind of there's some pressure to say like, okay, let's and there's somebody great that's new, there's a little pressure to say like, okay, let's drop people who aren't active and bring in people who are active. I'm not really, you know, we could pick some other number or drop it entirely. I thought it might actually help to sell it to the rest of the project as well, right? Because we're kind of saying like, here, these are people that we're going to trust to start, let's not have too many. And if immediately, like in the first year, we find that we really need more, we can just change the number, right? Like,
so instead, like I would, it might be a bit trickier at the beginning, but what if we set, instead of one whole year, we say, okay, the ambassador have to be renominated like at the beginning of the year, so their ambassador status ends at the end of the year. So then we can renominate all of them together, and we can like pick and choose. If we have more nomination, we can add more people in, instead of doing this in different parts of the year. It seems like more work. So let's say like we say like randomly 1st of January we renominate people, and so it's like one event. We can start prepare a month earlier. If we don't like someone, we can just drop it, and if we have more people who can't nominate themselves, we can then integrate them more easily. I don't know.
yeah, no, that's a good idea. I just changed to say the term will be for the calendar year, which basically means, at the beginning of every year, we will look at have a nomination period, and basically decide what for the next year, who are the people we're going to select, right?
So if we imagine that we have like some nomination in the backlog, then at the beginning of the year we can decide, okay, we had like 6 nomination, we pick 4 out of them, and
right,
that's it.
Right. Yeah, and like I think we can always, exactly. We can, and if we have more, like I think we can say like, okay, let's expand the number. I think like this is I kind of said for the initial phase, I think it would be good. Like, so we don't get 10 nominations and like, hey, 10 people expect to be nominated. I think especially for the first year, we want to start with a smaller number to see how that works. And that's why I said, like, we're not going to document who they are, because we want to be able to easily grow or shrink the list. So we don't want it to be an issue when if somebody's not active and they're no longer part of it, and we don't want to make it like a PR thing just to be in the list. Is kind of
But then the person who has been nominated cannot say that he's an ambassador.
Yes. Yeah, basically that under this model, we're not actually saying that you can publicize that you're an ambassador. It's more that the benefit is that we trust you and we're going to promote your content more than somebody. That's for the first year. So that I don't know if is the right answer, right? Like maybe there's a benefit to being seen as an ambassador, but I also think like some people may say, well, yeah, we have too much of that already, right? Like people never drop out of a collaborator because they want to be in the collaborator list, or like, I don't know. We're just having some discussions around that. And so I wondered if maybe we should start out at least by not making it a public thing. The benefits.
But then the issue I see is that if it's public, then you also have to like keep working to be, like, you don't want to be dropped out. So it's a good thing that you like keep doing what you're doing good in order not to drop out. And it can be as like the same system that collaborators. If you are no longer a collaborator, then you are in the emeritus status, and so there is no, you still are on the page, but you are in the emeritus, and that's it.
I think like,
so there is no drama, like,
yeah, I don't know. There may be no drama, but there's definitely the reluctance. Again, I don't think I intended this to be the long-term answer, but my suggestion was like to kick things off. Maybe we don't start with being on the list being one of the benefits, right? Or hey, I'm a Node ambassador. It's more just your content gets promoted. Maybe obvious who's the ambassadors based on what the the project promotes, but I intended us to discuss, at least have this discussion, like, is that a benefit we want to provide or not in terms of like being on the list?
Yeah, I'm kind of wondering if it might actually be better to have like a tiered system. It's like as like regular collaborators, like there's like just being a collaborator is easy. Being TSC is hard.
Right.
If we had like same sort of thing, like anyone can be an ambassador, but they're not going to get so much out of it unless they're like the higher level of ambassador. And then
I
there's
think
like
that
some
makes
element
sense.
of like proving yourself within that ambassador
Yeah,
program.
I think that makes sense, but how complicated do we want to start out with, right? Like I was
Yeah.
trying to keep it as a simple, we'll kind of see what this looks like. Because I know there was some even like, people, there was some concern over like, can we apply the same model in terms of like, we're effectively trusting people. So I was like, can we start out small and
So I wouldn't start private also because then we need another private repository where to keep the list of the ambassadors. I would say like we have active and inactive. If you are not doing like if TSC does not agree with the content that you're promoting, you are switched to inactive. And if you are on the list, you're active. And like everything, it's open and like openly documented. So like you can like even saying, "Hey, I'm an Node.js ambassador." I think it's something to motivate people to be to be proud of and to I don't know validate the work they are doing. So I think it should
okay.
be publicly documented.
Okay. So I can
Uh,
just take this line out because right. So source will be documented on the Node.js. Like, do we document them just in the like a repo, Node.js ambassadors repo, or somewhere else?
yeah, yeah, in the repo.
Okay. Link to nominate ambassadors is blah. So we'll have to figure
Create an
that.
issue, open an issue on the repo. I would say the easiest.
Yeah, but I think like again, the nomination is something we don't want to be public,
Okay, yeah.
right? Like, because we don't want to say no publicly, right? We want more like that's something where I think a form might make sense. Or
on the Node collaborators repo.
right. Okay, yeah. That's actually a good one because that's easy to do. To nominate collaborators. So project. Okay, let's see. We've said members of the or members of okay, members of the Node.js organizations can nominate ambassadors by opening an issue in the collaborators repo. Is that right?
Yeah,
Is it collaborators repo?
I think yeah. Let me check.
And does everybody have access to that? Like if
Only collaborators.
well, yeah, because we've said
Well,
members, we need something where it's open to all organization members.
Wait, when you mean organization members, you don't mean collaborators?
Well, as long as it's like anybody who's an org member, so say you're a member of this working group, the next 10 working group, but not member of core. So like, so not Node core collaborators is kind of what I'm saying. Like we want it to be anybody in the org. At least that
I
was
don't
my
think we have something like that.
right. So okay, so that's the.
Probably admin.
But again, that's public.
Is it public? Okay. Then we need a new repository for that.
Right. Okay, so members of the org, because we do, I guess certainly the like becoming a part of the org gets you access to say I'm pretty sure like the moderator repo, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's just say in TBD. We'll figure that out. I don't think like that we can add in once we get general agreement.
Yep.
Reviewing content. So I've said, ambassadors are asked to share links to new content before asking for the content to be promoted. So this isn't like we're trying, the goal, I think, in the discussions, like, at least from my perspective, we don't want to make this something where like we need people who are active volunteers to review everything, but we want to give collaborators and people in the project the opportunity to help suggest improvements, reviews, stuff like that. So, ambassadors are asked to share links to new content before asking for the content to be promoted. And the goal is to provide the opportunity for collaborators to help improve the content as opposed to a detailed nitpick review. So like, let's take a look at that. We're not necessarily helping with wording, whatever. Maybe it was already it was already published on your company blog or whatever, but it fits into our parameters of what we want to promote. People have a chance to like comment on it. This is done by open issue.
So,
go ahead.
okay. Yeah. No, I mean, we have channel already for social stuff that is Node.js social on Slack. Like when we post stuff for the Node.js release to get published. So
but I think
yeah,
that's where they would ask for it actually to be promoted, right? Like this is a step before then. It's kind of like, hey, any collaborators have any comments or suggestions for this? And
okay.
it's kind of like, I think, meant to be specific for the ambassadors. Like we will help, like we should prioritize helping the ambassadors get a review, get content versus just anybody, right? Like,
Yeah.
so it's like I was just looking for like the easiest way. They open an issue, it's open for what did I say?
Wouldn't that be
I did
better with a
say,
pull
I did
request?
also say that like we would limit this to members of the Node.js organization. So like again, it's not a public place. It's more limited to the org where people could say like, here's some suggestions and whatever. And then
I mean, like, wouldn't this be very helpful as a PR? Like, we keep a document with the content to, like, you open a PR, add the content that you want to promote to that. So we also
I
have a
think
list of useful content for Node.js.
I'm thinking we really want to not get in the way of people doing their content. So I've already published my content somewhere else. I don't want to force you to stuff that into a GitHub issue or whatever, right? It's like I think really lightweight is to say open an issue, put the link in, people can go read the link and comment, give you some suggestions. Most unless somebody really objects, it just publishes as is versus like this is like in my mind, there's two things. One, if people want suggestions and feedback from the core project, like we should support the ambassadors that. Two, when we discussed it, there was some concern over like, hey, people are publishing content that's just flat out wrong. So this gives an opportunity for people to say, whoa, this particular thing, I'm not like, I just don't think this is right. And hopefully that doesn't happen very often, but like to address those two things. But otherwise, I really like, again, I'm back to, I don't think we'll have enough volunteers to like actively review things. This is more of just like, hopefully we can provide some light reviews from people that are interested in terms of like suggestions. Hey, what about this or that? And also that just like that sanity check of like somebody, if they're interested, read and said, whoa, 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 but, or no, this is fine. Like all we're promising is to retweet their tweets. We're not landing it in our repos. We're not like, we're not saying this is the official right way. We're just saying like, let's help promote some content because this is somebody that we trust. And it's somebody who's in, maybe it's one of the messages we're helping to promote. And it's that balance between like, let's make it perfect as engineers, we always like to do, versus like, let's actually support people, even if it's slightly imperfect, because overall that's better. So that's why I'm like, as soon as you say we got to have the whole thing, it's a PR, now everybody can nitpick things like too easily.
Okay,
So,
yeah, makes sense.
Okay. So that's why I didn't actually put a time in here, right? Like, I guess it's like, it's it's like let's have an opportunity. And like I said, at the end, it's like approval is not required, but objection should be addressed before requesting promotion, right? Like in the worst case, the outcome is the ambassador should not actually request that this be promoted from the Node accounts, right? Like, and that's all, right? Like, it's not like, it's hopefully private enough that it's in the Node org. It's not like the comments are public, and it's already published possibly. It just no Node retweet, right? Versus if there's no objections, automatic retweet is kind of the.
Okay.
And then promoting content. So this is really where I like, and again, I see this as like a starting point. We can build up into more trust, more like if we see this working, I could see us add more things. But like my suggestion was to start with a couple of smaller things that like I think getting wrong, the impact isn't all that bad. So we trust the ambassador to only request promotion of content that lines up with the messages and topics outlined. And that it doesn't employer. And it doesn't overly market their employer, right? Like we don't want people promoting their product. But we trust them that, if they post their thing, nobody comments, nobody ever reads it. We trust them still to be doing the right thing, right? And they followed the review process, right? And then the ambassador can remove a promotion. They can request that the tweet be retweeted by the Node social account through, I guess, okay.
Yeah, I mean, this can be automated fairly easily with issue template and labels. Like
Yeah, I think the thing is though that like if we went to Kylie, they're going to be like, I don't want to go to the repo. I think like as you said before, there's already a social channel where you can post things. I think the easiest thing is for us to say they should request through the existing social Slack channel, right?
Yep.
Which I didn't put in, but I think that's the way to like, we identify to Kylie, here are our ambassadors. They request something to be retweeted. Our ask is that you do that. Like, you don't need to look at the content. You don't need to do anything. Just repost it.
Retweet, yeah.
Right, retweet it, and that's sort of the thing that we're getting. And again, I'll say to put that for here for LinkedIn as well, right? Maybe it should be.
Yeah. I mean, this is like for visibility, it's very good. It has like stuff being posted on the Node.js channel has very high visibility.
Right,
Like
exactly.
So it's like the day I did the release, I received like 300 followers on Twitter like that. just for
Right. Yeah.
for the release.
Yeah, and I think, we could do a lot more, and this is the case where like, so, we'll have to make this proposal to the foundation, right? And say like, well, this is our ask, retweet these things. I'm hoping that it'll be like, yeah, okay, we understand what's going on here and this makes sense. And it's your channel in the end, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, the things I could come up with was basically requesting a tweet be retweeted, requesting the LinkedIn post be reposted, at mentioning the other Node.js ambassadors. So like this is like self promote, among the team, like let's help promote each other. And we also have the what's new. We can create a what's new issue in the Node.js ambassadors, and that goes out in our news feed.
Okay.
Oh, I already included this. Sorry, I can take that out. I had that later on. So these requests
Can be
may
made
be
on
made
the Slack channel
through the existing social channel in the open.js Slack. So yeah, I mean, these are sort of I think this is a modest set of support in terms of promotion, but I think it's doable and like very little overhead for us.
Yep.
Also, like, we don't want to retweet flat out wrong things, but like the lasting impact, right? Like, so it's balancing like we trust people to do the right thing. So mostly that works out for us. And if once in a while it doesn't, well, we want to like encourage and provide support versus like being so conservative that nothing happens, right? I think that, at least, long way of saying, I think it's a reasonable trade-off in my mind.
Yeah, I agree. Like this makes sense, and I think is acceptable. Like the thing that we might want to improve as we go is all the part that like the creation of the issue, the approval phase. That like I think we still need to figure out the amount of stuff and amount of work. Like I think we can figure that out on the go, but if we pick people that are trust and there is a THC vote for that, I think like it's safe to assume that it's gonna be
Exactly. Like,
all
I
right.
think, the initial people will probably be people we know pretty well anyway. And, we can see how that works. And then as it expands, we can move to people who are maybe a little less well known, but like, we've got some good feelings for, and just, kind of see how that goes.
Yeah. I think sounds good to me. So you plan to open a PR to add this document on the Node project?
Yeah, exactly. Like this is my branch. I did it on the Node repo, and so yeah, it would be a PR to add this document into the contributing section in the Node.js repo.
Okay.
So next meeting. So I think what I'll probably do, if you two are okay with the content now, I'll like mention in the issue the next 10 again and say like, hey, my plan is to open this PR, say on Monday, right? If you have any comments, let me know. Otherwise, we'll open that and we'll see what the broader sort of reaction is to the suggestion.
Yeah, sounds good to me.
Okay, that's good. I'm going to, so let me just go back and I will actually do that. We discussed in the team meeting today. I made some edits. Plan is for me to open repo on Monday. And okay, so there we go. I basically we'll set Monday to get that there, and then we can get the broader discussion. So I can say we spent most of our time discussing that. Through the doc. Okay. The next steps from the advocacy deep dive, I think, covered this week based on discussion on 266. So maybe I'd suggest that like next time we can look and see if there's any other actions we want to take after that. So I'll leave it on the agenda.
Okay.
Survey they launched on the day of the 22 release, which was great. I think it's planned to stay open for a month. Maybe we just leave on the agenda until then.
Yep. Can we already see preliminary results?
I think it takes some work on the foundation staff's side to like pull the results and share them with us. So
okay,
like I think we could, but like I'm sort of like maybe we just wait because like what are we gonna do? And it causes some work. So maybe let's
no, I mean if it was free, like a link to
yeah.
click and see, if not.
Yeah, no, I think there's some work. So yeah, okay. Corporate support and contribution. There's anything on that one to discuss this week?
No.
Okay. Okay, skip. So I say skip for this week. And then create communication channels to the GS newsletters. I don't have any update this week. Although I will say, I think I might be seeing a little bit more node coverage in some of the periodicals. I don't know. Maybe that's just a gut feel or something. Any other discussion or topics we should chat about this week? I guess one thing that would be good to start thinking about is like, what would a next deep dive make sense for to be? Oops. Any ideas or thoughts on that front?
Not really.
Okay, well, I think I'd say like let's think about that because that's something that like one of our next things to plan out. We've got the survey going, which is good. Making some progress on the advocacy side. We can rediscuss next time when we have a bit more time if there's like anything other than the ambassador program we want to kick off on that front. But then separately, I think there's been a bit of discussion around again, like how do we bring new people into the project, promote and help them and stuff like that. So that might be a good deep dive, but there's probably a few other ideas too.
Yeah, I mean we can do that the next
Yeah.
next meeting. We have more time and we will just brainstorm a little bit on that.
So I'm gonna maybe create a new issue again, or let's see if there is an issue. I don't think so. I'm going to create a new issue, which is just brainstorm next deep dive topics. And I'm going to add it to the agenda so that it shows up next time and we remember that. Not the TSC agenda.
Next
agenda. There we go. Okay, well, I think then we are pretty much at time. So unless there's some other topics either of you two have, we can close out for today. Thanks for the going through that doc. I think that was really useful. And, we'll see everybody next time.
All right. See
Okay.
ya. Bye.
Thanks. Talk to y'all later.